On this episode of ClickerBait, we find out who possibly could put us in a chokehold as Abby. We talk about it. Who could play them like that? Yeah, or hit us with a golf club.
Oh.
Welcome. You're back. I almost just started talking about jkgames podcast, but this is not that. This episode of ClickerBait is brought to you by I Don't Know What I'm Doing by Jerica. And I'm trying to get a stream thing set up again, and I think things are working, hopefully. Hopefully our audio levels are fine. I think we might be loud. I don't know.
Let us know if you're watching. No big deal. This is, new setup or revisiting an old setup. But my name is Kayla. I'm one of your hosts here at ClickerBait, where we talk all things The Last of Us.
Yeah. And you're probably wondering, why are they talking about The Last of Us? I know the first season ended. Is there any more? And by golly, there's gonna be.
There's always more.
And since then, we've actually... Let me turn this down a little bit, because we're a little bit in the yellow. I feel like we're a little too loud. So, okay, that should be a little better. But yeah, we are just really taking all of the news that we have found on the internet since the end of The Last of Us season 1 on HBO. And on this episode, we are going to dive into some of those updates. And then, of course, talk about maybe some things that we're hoping to see from season 2. Also, yeah. I'm just going to be rambling here. Kayla, you can definitely cut me off and keep talking because you're a little bit more structured than I am.
Nah.
But I would say, like, this podcast... Here, before I get into it, I'm going to pause what I'm saying. Kayla, you said before we even started recording that we should tell the audience what kind of show this is if this is their first episode. What is ClickerBait? What is it?
I'm so glad you asked, Jericho. Well, you may have seen us before on this little old podcast we have done now for over 3 years, which is crazy. ClickerBait, or not ClickerBait, JK Games podcast. So you may be wondering, like, hey, we're live on JK Games right now. Maybe you're a newer listener that you came over from Kind of Funny. We appreciate you. We're so excited to have you. Me and Jerica are big fans of The Last of Us. We have been, I was later to the game than Jerica. Yes, Jerica.
I don't have a question. My camera keeps not focusing on me. So That's a new issue.
I thought you had a question. I was like, yes.
I was trying to get it to focus on the finger and then focus on my face. So maybe I need to be a little bit closer. Okay, I think I'm in here. Sorry.
But yeah, if this is your first time, you're good. If this is your first time listening to ClickerBait, what we have done is we went through each episode of The Last of Us on HBO when they were coming out, and we would recap the episode, talk about our thoughts, recap it, compare it to the game, because we have both played both games, and kind of talk about, what did we enjoy, what did we wish we had done differently, how we felt about things. And kind of just theorize as well. Like, The Last of Us means a lot to both of us, past like it just being a video game. Like, it really does, like, one of my favorite games of all time, especially the second one, which is what the second season is based off of. We have been confirmed that we have a second season. We don't know exactly what happens. There was a lot of creative choices made with season 1 that were additions to the game, so it could be more surprises coming our way. That's kind of what we're theorizing on today. And just kind of diving into fan casting as well. But yeah, that's kind of what our show is about. If you haven't seen this kind of version of JK Games before, all of our social media is the same. We don't have separate socials for ClickerBait. We advertise it just on our normal JK Games podcast. So you can find us there on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. But yeah, every once in a while we've decided we're kind of just going to do like little ClickerBait episodes here and there, just like as we get news, as we think of ideas, just because we do care about Last of Us so much that we wanted like literally a specific place to talk about it. So if you want to go back, like if you haven't seen our other episodes, if we give spoilers for the rest of this, like the show, we kind of have said in the other episodes. Yes, Jerica.
I would say, obviously, if you're here watching ClickerBait and you're a follower of JK Games podcast, you're probably a gamer. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously it's really fun to go back and like watch our previous episodes from ClickerBait where we recap each and every episode of the first season of Last of Us HBO. But we do play the games, as Kayla was saying. We play the games. We're gamers. So with this episode, and probably a few in between until we get back to when the next season comes out, we are going in heavy with some spoilers. So if you have not played the game and you are like, ooh, I don't want to know any of this episode is probably not the one for you. But if you're a
Mm-hmm.
gamer and you like to theorize and speculate and have some fun with what we know, you're going to love this episode.
Yeah, and that includes for the first Last of Us game and the second one.
Yes.
Yeah, so just keep that in mind as you're watching. But if you're still here, hello, you're part of a secret club that knows what happens. So hello.
We know what happens in
But we don't
the
know how they do
season
it.
coming out soon. Seasons, probably. Seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another thing we can talk about. What's the future look like? Who knows?
I have some
We don't know.
questions. I will maybe get through after we're done with the introduction. I will lay out this episode real quickly. You might.
Yeah, go ahead.
I might. Oh, you want me to do it now?
Done.
You want me to do it? Okay.
Yeah, I think
cool.
we're done.
Where can people find us? Did you do that part?
Yes, of course. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at jkgames podcast. You can find us on TikTok. You can find us on the YouTube. If you're not watching live, our video versions are up on YouTube. We just finished our last episode that was exclusive to YouTube. So if you haven't seen it on your podcast stream, the reason why is because there's a ton of visuals involved with our last episode with Josh, who gave us a whole rundown on Final Fantasy.
Yes.
And it's a long one. Not gonna lie, it's a long one. But good news. Good news. You can go to the description or the little chapters on YouTube that will tell you like timestamps. So if you're only interested in like our thoughts on the demo of Final Fantasy 16, for example, you can go straight to that. You don't have to see anything else. You can look at just that. Or like if you want to see like the older Final Fantasy games, a quick recap of those, but not the newer ones so you don't get spoiled. No problem. You can skip through it. But yeah, definitely check out that one if you ever wondered like what the heck is Final Fantasy.
What is a Final Fantasy?
A game.
It's the last one. It's the last fantasy you'll ever have. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if it's going to be the first. It'll be the last.
If you ain't first, you're
final
last.
One.
Speaking of also, like, if you go on socials, we ask questions. We'll talk later in the episode when we get to the section that Jerica's going to go over some of our fan theories and what they want to see more of. But Jerica, tell us what today's going to look like.
So, obviously, we do not have a new episode of The Last of Us to recap. Sad day. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be here when it's ready. We are so patient, but we're not patient enough not to just keep talking about our predictions for this season. So, little rundown of what we're going to be doing. So, we do have some news that has surfaced. That is not the word. Surfaced. Have come to light here. And we're going to talk about those bits of news. Then we are going to dive into our fan cast. Well, we say our. We took some fan casts from a few other sites and what people are saying on Twitter and social medias, all the social medias, and we have compiled them into a quick presentation. So we can show you the characters and the actors and actresses that might portray them. So that is us helping you see who could play these people, and we will probably be wrong on all of them. But it's fun to speculate and pretend.
The first one.
Yeah. And then last, we'll end with what we hope to see in the next season and just some questions I have around that. You know, what should they change with the story? What makes sense for TV? Because, you know, the game does something pretty special if you've played part 2. That game makes you feel things, and it's told through a way that only video games can do, putting you in the seat of Ellie.
Literally.
And other various characters and making those choices. So how does that get replicated for television? How do you make those viewers feel the same way we felt grabbing our controllers and sweating and crying? Yep.
Bleeding, throwing up.
And then Where does this season end? And this leads into the first bit of news we'll talk about here, because yes, it has been confirmed that this season 2 of The Last of Us might not be the only season that talks about. Sorry, Twitch is loading.
Game?
For some reason, my browser just loads Twitch automatically. And I don't know, it was distracting me, so let me exit out of that. I do not want Twitch right now. Where was I?
Oh. Speculation. Information.
Well, basically, you know, what article was it? They were talking about like there will be multiple seasons for telling the story of part 2, the game.
Okay, gotcha.
And
makes sense, because it's a lot. Like, especially like obviously we talked about like there are going to be spoilers. So like if you haven't played the second game, like it's long. There's a lot. It's heavy too, very heavy. I think people are going to be, especially like, again, we're in a secret club here now. All right. If you know, there's this, you know, one thing me and Jericho wanted was for The Last of Us, when it got remade into a show, it made it very accessible to people who aren't gamers. But one thing I learned from, especially being like someone who knows what's going to happen, watching season 1 and being around people and talking with people who did not know what was going to happen, this next season is going to be really rough for some people that don't know. Baby, you got a storm coming. You got a storm coming. And so I'm very curious to see how, because like people love Daddy Pedro, man.
They love him. And we also, you know, love Joel the character. We loved him. So that was, you know, there's a lot coming that I can't wait to see. Because I'm sure that whole story beat is going to, viewers are going to react the same way when we play the game.
Yeah, jaw on the floor.
But a couple of bits of news that I wanted to just sort of recap everyone on. Bella Ramsey, she plays, or they play Ellie, obviously. They're coming back. They will be back for season 2. So is Daddy Pascal, whatever we're calling him.
Daddy Pascal. Mm-hmm.
Both of them will be there to play, you know, Joel and Ellie, which is great. Jelly. Never thought about that.
It's cute.
So at this time, this article came out. This is one I pulled from the Independent. I don't have the date on it. Oh, here we go. Monday, March 20th. Obviously,
that was like the last Last of Us episode aired in like mid-March, right?
I think so, yeah. Don't know. I'm hoping you're right on that.
I'm looking at.
Okay.
As far as like episodes that we released on ClickerBait, we released our last episode, which covered episode 8 and 9 on March 23rd. So
dope.
Around the same time.
So, considering the episodes at the time are still in the process of being written by co-creator Craig Mazin, it's expected that we will still have to wait a while before we see season 2. However, Ramsey, who plays Ellie in the show, has given an update on when they think the episodes are likely to arrive, and if their estimates are correct, there will be even longer to wait. So, they speculated that it will be a while. I think they will probably shoot at the end of this year. So this year, 2023. So probably be the end of 2024, early 2025. We can go ahead and throw out this year anything happening. Filming will probably, hopefully, maybe begins this year.
And not to dive into specifics, but like there was a writer's strike recently. So like that has put a lot of filmmaking behind. For everything that's going on with that. So I'm sure that
Speaking of the writer's strike, obviously I pulled up the wrong article. That was a bad transition. I had the wrong one. I didn't put these in order here.
That's okay.
But with the strike going on and everything, obviously I truly, if you've read anything with the writer's strike, I'm not a writer. I don't really know how any of that works, so don't listen to me. But from what I've read, it seems like a thing that needed to really happen, you know, so... You know, people make money off of things they're working really hard for, and writing, and streaming services are a big deal and make a lot of money. So it's only right that writers get paid more. So hopefully that works out. I want that to happen. It happened like years ago. All I remember is like Heroes. Do you remember that show, Heroes?
Yeah.
Like the last season or something. I can't remember. Even Lost. felt the hurt the show lost. Also one of my favorite shows of all time. Felt the pain of when great writers can't be paid what they should be paid to write great things. Regardless, the strike is happening. It's still ongoing. But with the update with what's happening with The Last of Us, season 2 is feeling the effects of the writer strike. Preparations for casting for the second season of the HBO series has been underway until earlier this week, which I pulled this article from Variety, and it was on, there's a video playing on top of the date, May 11th. So this was published in May. So it was put on hold, according to an individual with knowledge of the production. Prior to that, however, multiple sources say that the casting team was asking actors to read slides taken directly from The Last of Us Part 2, the video game, on which the second season will be based on. Due to the fact there are no scripts for season 2 at this time, the hope is that the season will begin shooting early 2024 in Vancouver. So, right now, obviously to be expected that, if you don't have things to read, you can't audition. So I think everything's just sort of on hold until hopefully a good resolution comes from the strike. But what makes Last of Us a little bit different is I know it has to be basically rewritten for television, but there's a lot of content to pull from, Luckily, they don't have to start at ground zero here with ideas and where they're headed. Yeah. They got the end is in sight and the beats are there, but and we'll get to this later because this is part of something I want to talk about is like how did they adapt parts of the game for TV that worked well. But yeah, so there's some things happening behind the scenes. It does appear that season 2, the goal is to start working and filming by the end of this year. But with everything that we've sort of been reading with the news, like I definitely think the show, season 2, will be a possible 2025 release date. Maybe in the next year.
Or late 2024?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Maybe in the next year. But that's my goal. That's our range. That's what we're betting on. End of next year, early 2025.
Yeah, definitely seems like it for sure. And I know that like it definitely is a fall winter show. So this is not the kind of show I feel like, you want to release in like summer. Like I mean, you could, but I don't know. I feel like it would be more atmospheric if you, especially like with some of the content with this the game, that I feel like would make a lot more sense to be like in fall, winter. But yeah, I'm really excited. Like however long it takes, honestly, I'm not trying to be greedy. Especially we've talked in some of our JKGames episodes of like some other things Naughty Dog is working on that we would be fine with getting before then. Like obviously there's more Last of Us game stuff in the works that we are equally as ready for, and hopefully will feed us fans while we wait. But yeah, I think that really wraps it up with news. Let us know in the chat, like, are you excited? What are you hoping for? We got some responses from people in Instagram and Twitter. I can't tell if you have a question or if you're trying to get your camera to focus again.
That's my question. I'll use 2 fingers for question. Or, hey, point. Okay,
yes.
I did want to just say, like, when I was talking about, confirmation that it will be multiple seasons, it was also published by Variety. And God, I wish the ads wouldn't cover this up. We really should print off stuff, I guess. I don't know.
Like old school.
Old school, so I can't...
off the press.
Okay. So The Last of Us this is when it was like officially renewed for season 2, but the creators are planning more than one season to tell the much larger story from the video game sequel.
Okay, well that does change some things because there's no telling like what they could do with 2 whole seasons.
Neil Druckmann's like, or when asked if season 2 will include the entire part 2 story like the first season had the whole first game, Mazin was like, no way, and Druckmann added that it's way more than one season. So they both have stated it will take multiple seasons.
I have some thoughts then.
Okay,
I have some thoughts. We'll wait. We can wait to kind of go into it, but yeah, I'm excited. We're gonna, again, don't worry, we'll be back on ClickerBait every week when we get back to season 2. We'll make sure. And just so you know, like if you're listening and you're like not a super fan of The Last of Us and are just listening because you like us, first of all, thank you. We love that. just consider watching it. If you haven't played it, like if you're not interested, just consider watching it because it is really good. But
We will say
yeah,
this.
that's really
From going
yes.
here forward, spoiler territory. If you don't want anything to be spoiled
Don't
for you,
listen.
don't listen to this. I am so sorry you can't listen to this episode. We will have more stuff you can listen to next week on something. jkgames
Yes.
podcast, I'm sure. Okay. So, would you want to get into our fan casting? Because
Yes.
that's what we're here to do. And I keep saying our. We pulled this from the internet.
Yes, but some of them are like thoughts sprinkled into.
Yeah.
It's hard to fan cast unless you like really like, because we didn't want to just like pull it out of thin air, you know what I mean? So some of these are like BuzzFeed. We did find an article through them. Yes, Jerica.
One of the worst things, or one of the things in this existence that I'm bad at, is saying who's that actor, who's that actress, who are they?
Me too.
I do not know names. I know faces, and then sometimes I know that face, and I don't know where I've seen that face. Like, it's so bad. Whenever we watch like any award shows, I'm like, oh, cool. I'm glad they won that. They were great in that movie. That's how I talk. I'm horrible at that, so I have to like do a little research. So, once again, might have some pictures of people on here that Kayla or I will have to look up again because I don't know their names. I just know like, hey, that's that girl from that show, that movie.
That's okay.
I like her.
Hey, again, we found
she's cool.
We found a BuzzFeed article. If you guys wanted to look at it along with us while you're listening, but Jerica's got a lovely presentation we can pull up.
It's not as good as Josh's from last week, but I will say I quickly made this with your assistance.
Yeah. So there's a lot of new characters in season 2, and that's why we really wanted to do a whole dedicated like section of this episode to kind of talk about, you know, what new characters are we dealing with. Again, that's why we threw up a big spoiler wall. First, you know, we've got a main pivotal character in this series, Abby.
Oh, let me center you real quick. You're a little off to the left.
Oh, okay.
You don't need to move. You don't move.
Okay.
Go back to where you were.
Okay, here I am.
Not that it really matters, but I'm moving you over. Ooh, look how you're hanging out with Abby.
Hey, Abby.
All right. Okay.
So Abby has been heavily theorized, okay, already, of who's gonna play Abby. You know, she's the main antagonist in Last of Us Part 2.
Those are bold words. Is she?
Well, that's a great question, Jerica.
Is
because
she?
You might argue that she's not.
I feel like there's a theme. There's a theme that's the antagonist in this.
Guys,
in this series.
one thing we forgot to mention.
This is the best part about this game. This what's happening right now is the best part of this game.
It is, and I totally forgot about this, that before we even started ClickerBait, we have multiple episodes on jkgames podcast as well, where you can go back and listen to us as I am like fresh playing these games, and like we talk in depth about like what the game means to us, what the main theme is. Like obviously we'll go into it partially today too, but like if you want to listen to us ramble more and more about Last of Us, you can pretty much find infinite content.
Also, I just realized our this scene that I picked for us is jkgames, not ClickerBait. So sorry, there's more jkgames
paraphernalia.
Yeah, on this page. So get that out of there. What's jkgames? Get that out of here.
Who's that? We don't know.
You.
But as you can see on the far right, we have Abby as she is in the game. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what she looks like. Her voice actor is, what's her name? Laura Bailey.
Yes.
Didn't she have a surprise guest appearance in the first episode? Or the first season?
It's actually the last episode. She is one of the nurses.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that
Which
cool?
is funny.
Yeah, isn't
Isn't
funny?
that interesting? Because, again, spoiler wall! Spoiler wall! Abby's dad is the doctor that is gonna kill Ellie.
So I think it's pretty poetic that, you know, she's in the that they have the voice actress that played her in the game is in that scene. I think it's pretty funny.
Yes,
That's funny.
absolutely. It's pretty interesting. The pictures they posted on social media are really funny too.
Yeah, that's funny.
So who's gonna play this character, this pivotal character in this season? Who knows? There are some rumors. Okay, the biggest rumor is Shannon Barry. Shannon Barry is going to be on the far left, closest to Jerica's face, is Shannon Barry. So let's talk a little bit about that really quick. So why are people theorizing that Shannon Barry is going to play Abby?
We did this with the last fan casting. We a lot of people like to find, actors, actresses that look like the video game characters. So some of that is part of that. But I am actually, if you were probably getting to that, Caleb. But I will say,
I don't know.
Shannon Barry, she does also favor her, but also that's not the biggest reason. I think it should be her. Like, I would love for it to be her because of how well she played in The Wilds, which is a show that got canceled.
I've not seen that. Yeah,
it's a great show. Unfortunately, it got canceled, so you'll never know. We'll never know what happens next. But her character, once again, I don't remember her character's name, but I really enjoyed her performance in that show. Like, she was one of the highlights to the entire show, in my opinion. And
Jerica. Oh, sorry.
The character that she plays, has almost like, she's nice, but she's a little rough around the edges and sort of gung-ho on whatever her mission is in the show. Like, the personality she portrays, like, she has some, what's the word I'm looking? She's got some range. So.
Okay, great.
You know, Abby's someone that could kill you and then also be your best friend. Like.
Yeah.
And be scared of falling, So, sorry.
No. I have not seen the show, so I appreciate your insight into how she actually acts because I haven't watched like anything that she's actually in. But she does look, not necessarily this picture. She does definitely look like her, but there's some pictures I was looking at online that like really like it's like, oh wow, probably from that show. But yeah, me and Jerica both really agree. We've talked about this before on other fan castings we've done. Like, to us, like, it matters less that the person looks like the character they're portraying, and it matters more to us, like, personally, that they act or, like, have the essence or are able to, like, portray the character well, if that makes sense.
I just wonder, how much chemistry testing they do. Like, I mean, obviously they can't have all the people auditioning talk to the other character or to the other actors and actresses, but like I wonder how much like whoever's like at these auditions, like how much you have to know who range of Bella Ramsey before you have this person audition. You're like, I know Bella Ramsey so much, this is who should play Dina. Like, you sort of think about that too. Like, I don't know. Like, I wonder how much of that goes into all of it. I'm sure some of it. I don't know how any of this stuff works.
That's a good question, but I bet like I'm sure there's multiple rounds of auditions, right? Mm-hmm. Where like maybe the first audition is just like a general like talent screening, and then like as you get further along, like I'm sure maybe Neil Druckmann or Craig Mazin are like in the auditions, and I feel like they got to know the characters like and actors pretty well, so they probably can do like a little vetting. But you might ask, like, why are people saying Shannon Barry for Last of Us Season 2? Well, there's this article on the Pink News. There's tons of them, though, if you want to see. But why do fans think Shannon Barry will be cast as Abby in The Last of Us Season 2? For a start, Neil Druckmann actually follows her on Instagram. Which, again, like, not, I'm sure he follows several people on Instagram, but it's just kind of, there's a couple of different things. So, in addition, Barry has recently followed the show's two main stars, Pedro and Bella Ramsey, as well as Druckmann and the official Last of Us account. So she could just be a big fan. Maybe she's heard she looks like the main actress. Yes, Jerica.
I did just remember that Craig Mazin did an interview with somebody. I wish I could say who it was. It's a popular interviewer you can find on YouTube. But he did an interview recently just talking about, like, if you heard that, that's my stomach. I'm a little hungry. Mm-hmm. It was loud.
There's also fireworks going off in my neighborhood.
Sounds sort of like that. But in the interview, he did state that no one's casted yet. So he says. Don't know if he's pulling her leg, but he did say no one's been casted yet for anybody in season 2.
I think that maybe it seems like from looking like a lot of people that have watched The Wilds with her in it have like been saying that like it would be a perfect representation.
Let's go.
But moving on, so a couple other ones we saw that I hadn't really thought about this one, but on the BuzzFeed article, a lot of people were saying again, Shannon Barry is 23. How old are Abby and Ellie's supposed to be? I know there's a big time jump, by the way, between the first game and the second game. I think it's 10 years.
No.
Is it not?
Because I think Ellie was 14 in the first game, and I think it's 4 years later.
Oh, okay.
I think she's 17 or 8. No. You're onto something. Oh, God, I can't remember. Hold on. Let me look. God, no.
While you're... Okay. It's okay. You look at that, and I'll talk about the next one.
Okay.
Chloe Grace Moretz. She looks the part, in my opinion. I've seen her in some things. Some of her notable mentions.
Ellie is 19 in the second game.
Okay. So how many years is that? 5? 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, 5 years.
Ish.
Yes. So just as a heads up, like, again, they'll have to maybe age Bella Ramsey a little bit. I think Bella Ramsey is actually like 18-ish.
Abby's
16?
in her early 20s, apparently. In the book, The Art of the Last of Us Part 2, reveals Abby is in her early 20s during the main events of the game.
Okay, cool. So yeah, Chloe Grace Moretz is 26. The girl we mentioned earlier, Shannon Barry, is 23. Chloe Grace Moretz, you may know from Kick-Ass. She's in Carrie. She's the main person in Carrie. I think she's really good in Carrie, if you haven't seen that. And she plays a spooky, like, kind of like, I could see her persona being able to be Abby. The Fifth Wave, and a couple other things. But that was BuzzFeed's pick. And then we have another one, which we kind of just thought about. Emma Darcy.
Yeah.
From, what's it called? I don't want to get it wrong.
Unfortunately.
The name. Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. House of the Dragon.
House of the Dragon. She's a queer woman. I think they use they, them pronouns. Shannon Barry, also a queer woman. Chloe Grace Moretz, not queer, but hey, that's okay.
I will say this.
You were going to say something.
I will say this. You know, unfortunately, it's probably not going to be them because of age, but they would be so badass.
Yeah, that's a good point. Emma Darcy is 31, so a little bit older.
God, it's a shame. It's a shame. 31. God, I'm older than that. That makes me sad. That makes me so sad. I wish I could play Abby, but I can't.
But Emma Darcy in House of the Dragon is a badass, and I think like that would be a really good choice. Jerica could play Abby.
Yeah, bring it on.
So yeah, that was just kind of one me and Jerica were talking about, like as we were going on, like that would be good. Oh gosh, I can't remember this person's name. Hold on. We looked up Ant-Man buff woman.
So I think her name's Katie. Right?
It is.
I want it to be her because of the muscles. I mean, look at those. She's ripped. I know that anyone probably can get ripped. And is it a requirement to be ripped to play Abby? Correctly, no.
Yes.
But I want her to be ripped. I want her because that's just part of her character. It's part of the reason.
Katie O'Brien.
The reason why Abby is ripped because she is gung ho on killing whoever killed her dad, and she has worked out since the beginning for this moment. So this character has to be buff. It's part of the lore of Abby. Like, she is eating burritos and she is going to the gym every day. So I want the actress to have some muscle. I want to see the arm with, you know, the golf club. And if it had, it'd probably be, maybe it's a little different from the game, but we'll see. But I really want
talk about that.
I want to see that. I want to see some muscles. Anybody can get muscular, though.
Katie O'Brien was in the Ant-Man and the Wasp and was also in the Mandalorian most recent season. However, Katie O'Brien is 34.
Dang it. She looks younger than that. Which
she does.
It's about my age, so.
All right.
I wish I looked that young. God, I have more
think
gray
we're
hairs showing up, Kayla. There's multiple gray hairs. You can't see it on stream, luckily,
no.
but there's a lot. Um,
Don't out yourself. Let's
it's
move on
it's
to
true.
Dina.
It's true.
Dina, let's go.
Hold
I have
on.
to wait a little
I
bit till
haven't-
it shows up on my screen.
Okay, here we go. It's up there. It's ready.
So Dina, we have the main love interest for season 2. Ooh. Dina's a very, very important character.
Yes.
Jerica. We know this. I may not have everyone right. Okay, yeah.
I don't know who any of these people are now that my.
No, it's
I don't
okay,
know
it's
any.
okay.
Well, I know who they are. I just don't know their names.
So Dina, we get a surprise cameo in season 1 of the TV show. Now, me and Jerica talked about this in our recap. We don't think it's going to be the same person as it was. I know we talked about that a little bit, Jerica.
I mean, they didn't know for sure if season 2 was going to happen, you know? Even though we know such a great story, they didn't know that just yet.
Yeah. Now I forget. Dang it, what's her name? The girl. The cameo for Dina. But what qualities do you think you want the actress that plays Dina to possess, Jerica?
I know a big part of her character is that she's Jewish. Because there's a scene from the game that I'm very passionate about. It's one of my favorite scenes. I just love how that's incorporated, and you learn a little bit if you're not. I'm not knowledgeable about Jewish religion. So it was really a good segment of the game where I learned a little bit, and you learn more about Dina's character.
So I do hope the person is Jewish. That's okay.
Whoever plays Dina, that would just be a cool added bonus. But it's fine. As long as they have the personality, they can convey that. Because also, Dina's. I love her character so much because she's such a good comedic relief, and she doesn't take everything seriously. But in a flash, like, she's got your back, and it's, you know, someone that will kill for you. Like, it's a up and down.
She's a
balance.
big role.
Yeah.
So she'll be in it a lot, theoretically. So the person who does the cameo in, I forget the exact episode that she's in, where we get a tiny glimpse of
who it is in the slideshow. It's the second one from the right on the top.
Yes. So the one on the top in the middle, Paulina Van Cleef is her name. And she does look the part. I think she does look the part. Again, I don't think she's really been in anything. She is in this show that I've actually had referenced to me before, The Night Agent, that came out this year. She is in that, and The Last of Us as that cameo, but she's literally in like 0.2 seconds of it. So, and then we also have the voice actor for Dina, which, do you know her name off the top of your head, Jerica?
No.
The Last of Us. Okay.
I have some...
Shannon Woodard.
Oh no, that's the voice actress, Shannon. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Big thing here. Little disclaimer. Yes, she is in fact Dina. This woman. This picture of this lady. Once again, sorry I don't know your name off the top of my head. She is the face model for Dina, so that's why she looks like her. But she does not portray or do any of the acting. Nothing. Okay. I'm not trying to hold anything against her, but Shannon Woodward is the actress that brought Dina to life.
We forgot to mention that they do a lot of motion capture.
Like sometimes, you know, the motion capture, the person in the suit's not actually doing the voicing. But all our major characters, they do both the motion capture and the acting voice work. But Dina's character, or Dina's voice, or face person, doesn't do the voice. But a lot of people want her. She's apparently also an actress as well. Sure, if she auditions, sure, but I don't know. It just seems a little weird having the lady that also looks like her be her in the show. I don't know. Yeah. I don't think that's gonna happen. A lot of people like want that to happen, but I don't think I would be happy with it.
So next we have in the bottom left corner Daphne Keene. She is actually plays the young Wolverine in Logan, the movie. X-23 is who she is. She's 18 years old,
It's
so
pretty
she's kind of
crazy
closer.
how
Yeah,
she's a young woman now. I just remember that movie.
yeah.
Whenever I looked up the
She's like a
actress, I was
baby.
like she was a kid in the movie, so it's
Yeah,
pretty crazy.
weird.
Time flies.
Um,
People get older.
she's definitely not Jewish. She's Spanish, actually.
Well, there you go.
Um, but I think she looks good. And like the only thing I have seen her in is Logan. Apparently, she's in a couple other things like His Dark Materials, Anna, The Refugees, a couple other things. But she plays a very serious character. In Logan, like she's very like, very like. So that's not. I don't feel like that's really who Dina like kind of is in the show, but we'll see. Like I think that that was kind of what a couple of rumors we saw said. And then we have in the bottom right, she's actually from Yellow Jackets. I'm getting her name right now because I already can't remember it. Sophie Nalisi is her name. Actually, I think that she could do a really good job.
I wonder how old she is. I keep forgetting, like these, I don't, what, Ellie's, what did we say, 19 in the game?
Yeah.
So
Dina's probably around the same.
Yeah, so also, like, there's a whole balance of, do they look the age for the game? So I don't really know how that works. I know Bella Ramsey is, like, literally, I think she is 21. Like,
is she?
Yeah, like, I think they're 21. But let's see.
Bella Ramsey's 19.
Okay. So by the time they get going, maybe, I don't know. But I'll say, that's probably a challenge too. Like, I don't know how any of that works. If I'm an actress,
they can use CGI and things like that.
I want I want CGI in my life. I'd like,
that's a good point.
Some wings.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I could probably do that right now.
Yeah, you could make that happen for sure.
Yeah.
Sophie Nalisi plays in Yellow Jackets. She is 23. She plays a very, very. I know, Jerica, you said you haven't watched all of Yellow Jackets. I
haven't watched season 2. Nope.
Super good. Very dynamic character. Has a lot of range with her acting. Very cool. So I think she could do a really good job, potentially. But that's all that we really have for Dina. If anybody has anything in the chat that they would like to add, or if you are listening after the fact and have any comments or anything, please let us know. We would love to hear it. We have plenty of time to theorize, so definitely bring them our way. Next slide. We have Jessie. Jessie also plays a big part in the show. Not as much screen time necessarily.
But they could in season 2. There's a lot of time to fill that they could spread this out. So I'm real excited for it. I hope to see more of Jesse's character in season 2. I really like his character. That
because there's actually somebody, in our question of the week we asked on our social media, our friend P Swag from Spotlight Games said one of the things he would like to see expanded upon in season 2 of the show that we didn't necessarily get a lot of expansion on in the game was Jesse. That was actually one of his suggestions. I also love Jesse as a character. I think he's really great. And I would love more exposition on him as a whole when we go forward. Obviously, Jesse is an Asian man in the game. So we would want to have an Asian actor represent him. One of the things on BuzzFeed when we looked, again, he had probably around the same age, like early to mid 20s, probably. Jesse, like the character in the game. One of the things in BuzzFeed was Ki Hong Lee, which is the left-hand photo. After looking him up, he is a little bit older, so I don't know if they'll pick him. 36.
Oh, wow. Wow, no way.
Yeah.
Wow.
He played in the Maze Runner movies, and then there was something else you said that he played in.
He was in Beef. I think he's in Beef.
I don't know that. I have not seen that. But
no, maybe that's not him. But that No, this is important because there is one of the actors in Beef. I thought it's not the guy from The Walking Dead. I'm bad with names.
Not Steven Yeun.
No, he is too old. That'd be weird. Hold on a second. Did I not? I just assumed that's who it was. Obviously, when we were building the slideshow, I was just listening to Kayla and grabbing pictures and not really looking at any of these people. Hold on, I'm pulling up IMDb real quick.
Okay, cool. The other one, really quick, his name is Ryan Potter. If you're looking on the screen on the right-hand side, he's a little bit younger. He's 26. And he plays in a DC comic show called Titans, which I really like. He also plays, fun fact, in Big Hero 6, the animated show. He voices Hero.
Oh, what? That's cool.
Yeah. So I really like him. He's really cute. I think he would be a great Jesse, and he definitely has a personality, at least from what I've seen him play in. I think he really has a personality to show off Jesse. Jesse's just like kind-hearted, you know. He's there for the long run. He's just trying to do what's best for everybody. That's who I would pick. I think he's a great option. There's a lot of different people. Who's that?
His name is Young Mazzino. He was in Beef. He plays
so it's not the same person. Okay.
No.
That's fine. Okay, another option.
He's cool. That show is great. If you haven't watched Beef, you should. It's a ride.
Did it say how old he was?
No, I don't know. He's probably in his 30s too.
Yeah,
so once again, it will be none of these people. I always like to look back after we see who's playing who, and we'll go back and just laugh at ourselves.
Yeah. But it's fun. It's all in good fun.
It is fun.
You know? Didn't we say for Joel? Didn't we say the guy who Game of Thrones, the Jaime guy?
Yeah, Jaime Lannister, whatever his name. He's also in that show on Apple TV Plus with what's her face. That's how watching stuff with me. I'm like, he's in that show.
Yeah.
With what's her face.
And then lastly, we have, again, there's many more characters that we could do this for, but all that we've done. The next slide, we have Yara and Lev, which are two kiddos in the series that do play a good part when you're playing through on Abby's side, which we'll talk about later.
I think they should be played by the people that's them in the game.
Yeah.
And the voices. Mm-hmm. They do both.
Yep. So on the screen, on the
I don't know anyone's
side,
names.
Yara is on like the actual characters. If you're looking at it, Yara is on the right-hand side, and then Lev is on the left-hand side. Yara is one person that BuzzFeed mentioned, Madison Hugh. They are in the role in the show Voyagers. I have never heard of them before. But the voice actor, I'll look it up in a second. We'll find out. Then we have Lev, who in the game, again, spoiler territory, is a trans character. And so the voice actor is also trans and is Ian Alexander. So obviously we think like that would be a really great choice. The voice actor.
It would be perfect. Have you ever watched the OA? OA was a great show. They're in it too. It's really good. You should watch the OA.
Last of Us. Let me try to find Yara, the voice actor's name. Hold on. Oh, Victoria Grace.
There we
Victoria
go.
Grace. Also a really great option. Would love for them to at least include them in cameos like they did with the first season. But we know, like, again, they're not necessarily super worried about how people are looking. Like, I feel like Bella Ramsey doesn't necessarily look like Ellie exactly, you know what I mean? But, like, the portrayal is what matters the most.
Out of everybody that plays someone in the game, I definitely see these two actually being in the show. Like, you know,
just since they're younger.
Because they had Marlene's voice actress actually play Marlene in the first season. Like, if there's going to be anyone else, it's going to be these two characters, which I'm totally on board with.
Totally agree. And even though they may not necessarily get the most screen time, they are very much pivotal to Abby's character. So I do hope that they do them well, for sure. But yeah, again, let us know in the chat what you guys think. Would love to hear y'all's thoughts on some of these fan castings. Do you have your own fan castings? We want to hear about it. Let us know. But I think we're going to move on unless you have any other comments, Jerica. Do you have any other comments about casting choices?
I can't wait to see who's playing who. That's what I'm ready for. I'm ready to know.
Hopefully we know sooner rather than later. Because it's just fun.
You don't have to have the script to cast the right people. Come on. Once again, you know, I'm not being a loser. I don't want them to rush anything. I'm just eager to know. I just want to know. I'm selfish. I'm ready to know now who's playing who. Okay. What did I say was next in this? I gotta pull up our message again.
We're gonna talk about what we want out of season 2 and how we feel like they're gonna adapt it to TV from the video game, because like you said, there's a lot of unique things that they do with this game that are gonna be interesting to see how they adapt to TV. So again, spoiler wall. When you are playing The Last of Us Season 2, you go through a whole thing as Ellie, and then you go through the whole exact same thing as Abby.
It's like 3 days
up to a certain moment.
3 days in each of their shoes. And it was such a surprise. One thing, you know, that's going to be interesting for them to do to flip viewers on their head like they did with us when we were playing the game, is that I got spoiled by a few things going into The Last of Us, but I never got spoiled with what happens halfway through the game when you start playing as Abby. And that was the most pivotal part of the game where I was just like, what the heck is this? And I'm like, when it said day 1, I just remember like, no, I don't want to. No! I gotta play the whole. I'm doing 3 days with her now too. And it ends on such a cliffhanger before you go into Abby's backstory, because it's sort of like the point where both characters meet. So 3 days here with Ellie, 3 days here with Abby. The cliffhanger is the point where both of those meet. Does that make sense? So with the game, you're just sort of forced to play as Abby, and it sucks because Abby did something very devastating to us gamers that they're still mad about, and they'll be mad until the end of time about. So...
But once you finish playing as Abby, you're like, who's right and who's wrong here?
You don't know. You are actually sort of like, why the hell did I play this game? It sucks, but I love it. That's basically it. And I'll say this. That's just what makes that game special, and I'm really curious about what they could do to make people that are watching feel the same way. Because that's a special part of the game, is how it makes you feel and what it makes you experience and play as. Like, you are literally having to play as a character that kills another beloved character, and then you start feeling a lot of different emotions near the end of the game playing as another character that we love, Ellie, and her making these horrible decisions, and you're sort of forced to play them. So a lot of it's, you're on this roller coaster, you're forced in, you're strapped in, you can't get off. So with the show, I think one of my questions, what did we talk about here? Thinking about all those things, how the first game made us feel, all the choices they made, golf club, Joel's head. I'm going to go ahead and say it. That's the sound effect. That's
early on. That's early in the game.
It's so early in the game. So what do you think? Let's talk about this. Like, should they change anything with the story? And I'll say this, like, they can't change what happens to Joel.
No.
But they could change how it happens.
Where it happens in the story.
Would you be upset about that? Like, if it's different, would you be okay with that? Or do you think, should they... Season 1 was pretty close to the game most of the time. They played it very
just
safe.
With some additions.
With some additions, right?
That really didn't change the trajectory.
Do you want season 2 to be like that too? Or would you like to see some differences? Like, I don't know.
I think that I don't think they should change much. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to stand by that. Like, I feel like the way that Neil Druckmann has crafted the second game to be so divisive on purpose. And I don't know, maybe my thing is like, I feel like if you change much of how it was presented in the game, it changed the whole trajectory of how you feel about the two different characters that you're following. Because the whole point of the matter is like you open with like, because again, the last episode of the last season ends very similar to how the last game ends. It's like, dealing with like, does Ellie like, Ellie doesn't know like what Joel knows. And then you open in the game with like, she has found out, she's dealing with how she feels about the whole situation. X many years later, I think we said 5. And has some resentment towards Joel. You're watching her, she's grown up a little bit. I do feel like that's very important because of, how they leave their relationship before he dies. I think that needs to be shown, like, because, isn't it like they're in her bedroom or something? He's trying to talk to her, and she's kind of like, yeah, whatever.
Yep.
Because again, like this whole, the whole ending of the first season, it's very divisive, very morally like, is this what's right and what's wrong? What would you do in this scenario? Love and like how you protect the ones you love. And that's why it's so gut wrenching what happens in the second season or the second game. I mean, so I just don't feel like you can change much to get the same like absolutely heart wrenching reaction that you get in the second game. With leading with the fact that like of what happens to Joel, I think it has to be towards the beginning of the season. However, this is what I'm a little worried about, Jerica. I'm a little worried that they're going to put Joel dying towards the end of the season.
Okay.
And leave it as almost like a cliffhanger in a way. I just don't see how they can do that though, because like that's like basically the plot of the second game is Ellie dealing with Joel's death. So like what is the plot before that happens? You know what I mean? Like maybe they expand like Ellie dealing with the consequences of Joel's decisions longer in the beginning.
I mean,
I don't know.
Granted, we've talked about this before, but there's there's 4 years that have passed since Ellie and Joel make it into Jackson. So, are they gonna pick that up are they gonna do that in this season as well, as like immediately pick up 4 years later or whatever? But there are some scenes in the game that are shortly after they arrive in Jackson. One of those, like Ellie she has her arm bandaged, right? Like she had just she just burned her arm so she could hide her bite, right?
Yeah.
Was that an actual thing I saw in the game, or am I confusing it with something?
No, I think you're right, because then she tattoos over it.
Yeah, so I would love to see some of that like expanded on. I just don't know, are they gonna do every episode? Are there flashbacks in these episodes, right? Because I thought maybe
that's a good point.
Maybe they can incorporate a lot of the flashbacks in the game that we get later on earlier in the story, or maybe just sort of when a flashback makes sense. I don't know. Like they could do a little bit of both, like whether they want to show us these scenes that happen before the beginning of part 2, because we get some flashbacks, and we also have things that were mentioned in Ellie's journal that we never saw. Like one, I'd love to see her. I'd love to actually see her girlfriend, her first girlfriend, like in the show. Maybe some of that, like, but I don't know if it's flashbacks or they just go in and then they do a jump to 4 years later. I don't know, is it 4 years later or right off the bat, or do we get some? Or the first episode, do we see any of that like right after they arrive at Jackson? I don't know. I think either one could work. That's why I'm not writing the show, because I have no idea which one's better.
I think I would prefer flashbacks personally. I think that like I would be fine with like an episode like Left Behind, and obviously that's unique because that was DLC like purposefully in the first game, which we currently don't have in the second game. I think that I would be fine with like that, like, or like the Bill and Tommy, like, no, not Bill and Tommy. Bill and what's his name?
Frank.
Is it Tommy? Bill and Frank. Like their episode, Like I would be fine with something like that, kind of like almost like a spin-off episode.
You know what
But
they
I
could
just feel
do?
like
I had an
what?
idea. Like thinking about that
Okay.
episode in general, just like, you know, how it was sort of like a separate, it definitely could live like that one episode could be live on its own in the Last of Us universe. Well, they could do that because we're trying to figure out like when are they going to kill Joel? Like when are they going to kill it?
Yeah.
I think for the effect that it had
It's like the
on
whole plot of
us
the
when we're
second.
playing the game, it does have to happen pretty quickly. You know, 1 or 2 episodes in, I definitely see it happening enough to where we're like, oh, I love that Ellie and Joel. I hope they can. Are they going to get this figured out? Is Ellie, because you know Ellie doesn't trust him in the show. You know, she knows something's up. She's like, tell me the truth, and he doesn't. He lies to her. So I guess they'll see some build up between the friction between him and her when they're trying to figure out like why is he lying? Is he lying to me? So we'll probably see some of that, and maybe just like a little bit of like them getting along, and then I don't know, like I just know they should do it early.
Part of me
For
thinks they
shock,
open with
shock.
Abby.
I don't
Part of
think.
me thinks they open with her. I don't know.
Okay,
Because
they
again, in
could.
the game, maybe in the game you open with Ellie and Joel, but then you play as Abby with her friends and you don't know who they are. And I remember me texting Jerica like, "Oh, I like this Abby girl. I don't know what she's doing, but like I like her." And that's kind of the thing in the game too, is you're like, "Oh, okay, like she's just trying to, you know, like go around with her little group." And then you're like, So I don't
Wonder
know.
just
We'll see. Maybe they open with
I
that.
wonder how long they make it. They keep her backstory hidden to like why she killed Joel. Like I do feel like, how do you have that same jarring impact that we have when we find out that we're playing as her and learning like why she did the same thing she did? I'm trying to think where that could. It sort of relates to like how they could even end season 2. Like where is that ending? Because what's going to be really tough is that how did they tell both their stories at the same time? Because it can't be 1 season Ellie, 2 seasons Abby. They can't. I don't think that would work. I don't think it'll hold. That seems disappointing to me. So like, how are they going to tell? Are they going to tell their story side by side, or what is Abby's reasoning for things? Is that a secret until like the end of season 2, where you learn like, oh my god, Joel killed her dad. Her dad was the surgeon that was working on Ellie. Like, when did they drop that? Like, how long did they make you hate Abby before you're like, oh, that sucks?
Where you're like,
oh, that makes sense. I get why she killed Joel. I wonder how long. I feel like for this to work well for us, they're gonna make us really want to hate Abby. They gotta make us hate Abby.
Yeah.
So they'll probably, back to your point, I think they do maybe kick off the season with Abby. And
maybe they do.
Like, who's this group? What's happening? And that they have us sort of love her at first and get to know her. Like, oh, is she gonna be a new part of Jackson? They're gonna wonder what can they help? Did they have something to do with the Fireflies? And then this group, Abby, you meet her. She seems nice, and then she kills Joel, and you just have no idea why. And the whole season is just focused on Ellie getting her revenge and like killing Abby. And I just wonder. I think they end with an episode before the last. I definitely see them cutting it off like at the theater.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where they collide, where they meet up. I definitely could see that.
And then they open the next season with I don't know. Here's an idea that I have. Let's see. So again, they open with Abby. They give you a little bit about her, you like her a little bit. About halfway through the first episode, you go back to Ellie and Joel, and then at the very end of the first episode is when she starts beating the shit out of Joel. Mm-hmm. Like, you think he's dead or something. And then they open the second episode with like, yeah, he's dead, and Ellie's about to rip shit apart. Maybe something like that. And then you're dealing with the repercussions and following Ellie. The two options are, I know you say you would be disappointed, but let's say you go through Seattle, right? Is it Seattle?
Mm-hmm.
Seattle. We go through each day. We maybe do half-ish the episode as Ellie, and then we go like flip the day and kind of see it from Abby's perspective. I do think if they're wanting to give, obviously, I don't think there's a
Oh
way to do it
shit,
exactly like the
you're onto
game.
something.
Maybe they do that.
What if they tell two parallel stories? We don't know why. We don't know why we don't know why we're having to watch this show about Abby. We just know that her dad, I don't know, it could be on the nose though, like her dad dying. But maybe they keep that a mystery too, like something bad has happened to Abby. We're following this story alongside Ellie's sort of.
Maybe.
But we no, because we got why would we be following Ellie in the first place? Like Joel died. That's the that is what's motivating Ellie. Like that has to happen early. It still that doesn't work. I was getting excited because like you gotta understand why these characters are mad and obsessed with something. Like it has to kick off with that. Because if they, I don't know.
Maybe you know why, like Abby killed Ellie or killed Joel, but you don't know why yet. And your fault. You know what I mean? And then maybe at the end of the season 2, you find
there's a flashback, like and it's all just like the day in the hospital told from Abby's perspective, or from the whole hospital scene. Like that'd be really cool. Like the end of the first season, and then like just totally Abby's. That whole episode could start with like her dad, you know, how his morning started, like hearing about they got the girls coming, we're gonna find a cure. He's giving a motivational speech. Abby's there, and he's telling her like what he's gonna have to do today, and like it's gonna save the world, it's gonna change lives, whatever.
And then she goes, "What would you do if it was me?"
That last episode should mirror the last episode of season 1. That would be really good. And then we end with the truth, like why Abby killed Joel. That's how the first season ends, and they meet up at the. I'm sorry, second season. They meet up at the theater, and it's just a standoff between them. And I think for shock factor, like just another, and you're just left on the edge of your seat, like with what's happening next, is that Jesse runs through the door and he gets shot. Yeah. And then it's just her and Ellie like looking at each other, and that's how it ends after the flashback.
Oh, yeah.
Like after they sort of see that flashback, like I don't know that we're getting somewhere. We're not perfect. It's not perfect yet, but I could see that working.
At the end of the day, you're not going to be able to replicate the same thing as a game. Like, there's not a way to do that.
I want them to make people hate Abby. And then you feel like, shit, Joel sucks. Joel shouldn't have, because season 1, that whole last episode, it was tough to watch Joel do that. Like, it was insane. Like, even that episode made you feel like,
Which is what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, you're like, I don't know if that was the right thing, but he saved the day and he saved Ellie, so that's all that matters. But like, I don't know. It's gonna be so good. They're gonna figure it out, and it's gonna be so freaking good. Because I don't know. I just want people to hate Abby and then feel what we did, and then love her, and then be like, man, this sucks. But I really care about Ellie. I love this character. We've been with her from the beginning. You just want to see her happy. It's great. Oh, I can't wait.
She makes some shitty decisions, and So again, we talk in depth about all of the moral dilemma of this game. If you want to go back and watch our spoiler review, you literally should be able to just search it. But we'll, again, when this new season comes out, whenever it does, we'll talk all about it again and how they do it on TV.
Probably the next time we do another ClickerBait episode will be when casting comes out, and we'll have to talk about how wrong we were, and how we're like, okay, I need to go watch something that this person's been in. You know, so
but with that being said, again, like I just hope that like the main thing that I hope for is that we get evoked the same feelings that we get. But really quick before we end, what do you want to see more of? Like, what do you hope? Like, I mean, Last of Us Part 2, we both agree was like fantastic, amazing game. But like, what would you like more of that we didn't get in the game?
We talked about this today, but I gave you an example. Like, we got to see way more layers to Joel in
Yeah.
season 1, which was pretty cool. Like in the game,
His
you know, he's got
PTSD.
demons he's dealing with and the loss of Sarah, but in the show you sort of see like his PTSD and like how
Panic
scared he
attacks.
is. He's having panic attacks. How he shares how he, you know, almost took his own life, and he shares that with
Mhm.
Ellie. Like that's a whole other layer. Like I'm more excited to like there's a whole like we were talking about Jesse earlier. Like he has parents. They're in Jackson. Like you there's a note I think they leave Dina and Ellie. It's at the farmhouse just telling them to come visit because Jesse's parents they're alive and well. Like they want
Mhm.
them to come visit so they can see their grandson or whatever. So like I know that could be like season 3 obviously then. But I'll say like there's characters in Jackson, even Dina, like I think it's
I would
interesting
love
that
more of Dina.
like
Yeah.
Dina like where she cuz apparently she has a sister and her sister died. They like came
Mm.
from a different state. I forget where they came from. I don't know if it's like I don't know. But she traveled very far to get to Jackson. So I would assume by herself. I don't really remember if that was what was shared, but how did she get to Jackson? What happened to her
Mhm.
sister? Because she really doesn't explain it. We just know that her sister died. If it is explained, I totally forgot. So just being able to get and see some of those things from a lot of the characters that we care about in the second game, which is fine because they said that, which would have been impossible to do in one season. So I'm so
Mhm.
thankful they're doing multiple seasons so we can get
Yeah.
more
We know
layers
they
to
can
these
expand.
characters and background, backstory, see them. Like I know it sounds funny. Like Jesse has parents. Like I'd like to see his parents, and because that makes you more connected to his character. So
Yeah.
there's so much they can expand on, and then obviously all the stuff in between the 4 years that Ellie's there, from her trying to hide her bite mark, getting the tattoo from her first girlfriend, um,
Mhm.
would be really cool
That
to
would
like
be fun.
see
That would
some
be a
of
fun
that.
scene. Yeah.
And will
Well,
we
because we
get all
see
of it? I
Ellie's
don't
mom
know.
in season 1 that we didn't get to
Exactly.
see. Yeah.
Exactly. So there's definitely gonna probably be some little bits of story that's added in there, and just like season 1, I'm so excited to have more to add to my Last of Us 2
Lore.
lore that we get to experience. But yeah, that's the biggest thing I want. I
Yeah.
just want more characters explored and see more of their backstories. And so when some of the characters die, I feel really sad because
Mhm.
I know them even better now. Great,
Mhm.
great.
Yeah. I think that like the more I think about how they're able to pull off everything in the
I
game,
thought about
like the
one thing.
more it makes
Don't forget.
yes,
Sorry, I'm not interrupting. Keep going. I'm sorry, but
the more it makes me think about like the whole Yara and Lev situation could be a whole other like season, honestly. Like so I just don't know how they're gonna
they
do
can
that.
cut
Like
some of
thinking
that
more
stuff
about
out, in
it.
my opinion.
Yeah.
Part of that part of the game was just like it was fine. They definitely.
Yeah.
I feel like they're gonna tell that part of the game so much better than the game did. They'll handle
Yeah,
that better.
I do think that part of like
Ooh,
I do love what Yara and Lev add to Abby as a
yes.
character, like her compassion. However,
The
Yara and Lev's
Seraphites got on my
backstory
nerves.
really,
It was a
yeah.
little. It
It just
was.
like doesn't really make sense. Like the brief moment that you get of like that in the, it just doesn't like no,
Yeah. I don't need all.
doesn't.
I the Seraphites. I'm sure will obviously will. It's part of the story, but they don't have to go as far in depth. But maybe they do, and they make it really interesting.
That's
Sort of
fine.
like the divergence with the, you know, I wasn't like the biggest fan, but it was fine. But like the whole is it Kansas City in season 1?
Yeah,
Yeah, it sort of
yeah. We
expanded
talked
on.
about that. Yeah,
I don't
hmm
know. I'm sure they'll figure it out. But
yeah,
one
for
thing I was
sure.
gonna, oh God, what was it? I was just about to say, oh, something that's different from the game that we sort of forgot about. I bet you forgot about is that, um, Tommy and Maria is
Oh, having a
pregnant.
kid. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's gonna be my camera's all fuzzy. Oh, come
What if
on.
they? What if the kid like goes with them or something?
You never know, but I will say that's not it's not in the game. So what layer will that add when we sort of see the downfall of Tommy and his obsession too with avenging his brother? So how having a kid
Ooh,
will impact
dynamic.
that character. Yeah, it's a lot. Like, that wasn't in the game. I feel like
forgot about that.
that's already another layer to Tommy and Maria that, once again, like, I can't wait for season 2 because we get more of that. Those are such great characters that in the game I've always wanted more of, and you just don't get. It's gonna be awesome.
Good call out, Jerica. I forgot about that. Forgot about that.
They made that change for a reason.
They did.
So, I'm eager to see.
What if their kid is a pivotal player in this somehow? Who knows? Definitely let us know your theories and what you want on social media. We literally could talk about it all day. Like, seriously, if you have any episode suggestions for things you want us to cover on ClickerBait, we are totally down to do more episodes specifically around Last of Us content. You know, we have no problem with that at all. So definitely, if you have a fun idea, let us know. If you have any questions that you want answered, let us know. But I think that's about all for us this time. Again, hopefully next time you see us, fingers crossed, we'll have some news. You know, we may even do like a whenever the next Last of Us related game comes out, maybe we'll have a special episode on here about it, or like announcements around any of that.
We'll save this for jkgames next week, but there's some rumors with Last of Us that came out. Rumors, you know, like a good little rumor. We'll talk about that on the next episode, jkgames podcast.
Shameless plug for ourselves. All right, guys. Well, I think that's all for us this week. Definitely keep an eye on our social media to see, again, like what Jerica said, what we're going to talk about next on JK Games. But we have enjoyed having you. Again, let us know what you want to see next. And we'll catch you next time.
Catch you next time.
Endure and survive.
Endure and survive.